you need to be a bad person to manifest your dreams. I often hear this sentence online, and I'm afraid that not only does this solution not erase the problem, but it also potentially makes it worse. I have mainly 2 points I would like to make. The first one is just worldly reason that I think we're forgetting, and the second one is a more analytical point as far as reality creation is concerned. For starters, I feel like all doubts need to be cleared up about the fact that the importance of morality is objective. We are all better off living in a moral world. Having a morality, a code, not only does it make the world objectively safer for everyone and limits all kinds of extremely selfish acts that would seriously serve no purpose but short-term gratification at the expense of everything and everyone else, but it also frees us all from the scarcity, the poverty mindset created by those very bad people that want us to believe that such things are real. Morality creates safety, a kind of safety that is not naive comfort. A safer world, with higher standards for living, a higher respect for life, is a world where people respect each other more because people's lives' worth is more often acknowledged. Such a world gives children more loving parents and responsible adults, who are more loving and responsible because they were nurtured themselves when they were being raised. Such an upbringing creates in those children a stronger sense of trust in themselves, in society, and creates a hope for the future and humanity as a whole. If in society, in a family, and in our own soul there is space for more than just survival, anger, resentment, unworthiness and envy, we can discard those feelings, those frequencies that we tune into to defend ourselves when we feel attacked, and can become proactive in creating a life of our own accord, which leads to fulfillment, and fulfillment leads to less revenge, and less revenge to less scarcity. Imagine a child that grows up in a garbage dump. Do you think this child could have such a high esteem of life and of his own life if he is treated no better than rubbish? Not being treated like this is exactly what makes us proactive and highly functional in life. If we start taking advantage of others, start lacking basic human courtesy and respect, we lose all of this. We lose what we already have of it, and what more we could have of it if we kept walking on this path. For should we stop treading it, our egos might feel very validated for the pride we've taken in our withheld grudges and pain, but I doubt that might ever solve any problem at all. As for my more analytical point, my main argument is that there is a contradiction lying in the statement that reads, "In order to manifest your dreams, you have to be a bad person," or "being bad makes you win." This is false, because action, whether good or bad, is not the cause of any creation. The duality of the opposites bad and good is still separation consciousness, and on the same level as physical action, which belong to the plane of effect that we inhabit. This might take a while to understand, so I'll try to explain as well as I can, but please do bear with me for a little. Good and bad are distinctions that occur within duality, within the paradigm of consciousness or purely physical existence, which is the realm of effect. We perceive this side of reality through the limited lenses of our ego, or the so-called rational side of the brain that refuses all that is new or unknown and that trusts only what it sees physically. The ego clings to what it sees directly with the physical eye only to feel a sense of control and certainty. So it ends up thinking that what it sees, results, are all that matters, and based upon this need to feel in control, it commits huge logical leaps, known as generalizations, that are based on just a few experiences. It always thinks from the effect, never questioning the cause. The superficial rationality of the ego says, "They win and they are bad people, therefore being bad is what makes you win." But how many people do you know that are abusive, that are incoherent, that don't respect others, that are genuinely obtusely selfish, and that are still stuck in the same cycles? Maybe even because of their selfishness. These people are probably not something that could qualify as evil, but if they're not even trying to change and let others bear the consequences of their actions, you definitely cannot call them good either. So the argument still stands. There are already many people who are not doing so much good and that are stuck in life. This is because good and bad are all oppositions constructed within duality, as I said. They exist within that limited understanding of the world, not beyond it. For instance, in our world, in our human understanding of the world, we don't just distinguish light from heavy, but we even separate them and treat them as opposites, like they have nothing to do with each other. This makes us think that things that are heavy are not light, and that things that are light are not heavy, which does sound correct enough, but still not quite. It is still superficial thinking because all things have weight. Let's take this a step further. Think about it. An elephant is heavier than a feather, but it is also lighter than a whale or planet Earth. It is heavy compared to this thing, and it is light compared to this other thing. It is both in relation to different objects, because lightness is just an inferior level of heaviness, and heaviness is just an inferior level of lightness. But they both lie on the same spectrum. Coldness is a low degree of warmth, and warmth is a lesser degree of coldness, but you measure them both with the same object, the thermometer. In daily life, we aren't aware of these technicalities and imperfections of language, and it's fine as it is, because it serves its purpose of communication, but if we want to understand the world on a deeper level, we can't keep dwelling in the obvious. And if we don't question it, we won't know why we are stuck, and most likely stay stuck. For this same reason, bad actions are not the cause of creation per se, because action is separation, separation from the truth, the separation that deprives one opposite of its complementary. Light and heavy, mind and action, consciousness and matter, cause and effect. If you take words seriously here too, you'll see that even logically doesn't make sense. The ego judges truth based on results. Bad opposed to good is part of separation, so it belongs to the world of effect. How can what you see directly, a result, be the cause and not what brought it into existence? How can a result, an effect, be the cause? What is actually happening is that we're all just witnessing other people's success with our eyes and assuming that being like them is what made it happen. Then we observe that we're not them and conclude that we're not made for it. But what if there is more? What if the problem is elsewhere? The truth is that no so-called race or gender or trauma or anything other than you choosing yourself is the cause of creation. Simple as that. You choose yourself and the universe will choose you. Bad people don't get what they want because they're bad. They simply don't have spiritual blocks as far as creation is concerned. For example, the very belief that evil is the cause of creation, this pessimism where you pedestalize evil and indirectly look down on yourself, thus rendering yourself powerless, is a block that you can create yourself if you believe that narrative. Pedestalizing evil above you implies that you are this small, poor thing looking at the great beings in the high heavens. Ironically, worshipping implies that you are diminishing yourself, that you are shrinking your worth and power. You are making them powerful in your mind. You are depleting your self-esteem, your trust in the world, and making yourself feel bad, which can only lead you to experience yourself as a powerless being, as self-esteem and trust are the prerequisite to create anything. Imagine starting off a project saying, okay, this work will be a failure, this session will be terrible. And this is what we discussed earlier in the first point. Damaging our self-esteem and worth are blocks that we create ourselves. But the truth is that people are all born from unconditional love and worth. Everyone is born in childlike wonder and innocence, which is that metaphysical trust in the unfolding of nature that keeps you curious, therefore evolving, that keeps you hopeful and desiring to create and rejoice of existence. Everyone has everything they need since birth, their own nature and self-love from which to draw inspiration for creation. It is only human systems, established by the egos, that obscure the truth of the internal by dimming your light and teaching you that the worth of your life is conditional. You won't be good enough unless, that you can't possibly succeed unless. They need to create the scarcity because it doesn't exist in nature. A major example of the falsehood of scarcity is envy. You envy people because you assume that there is place for only one of you two. If they are better than me, I'm no good, and it's over for me, which is false. People will listen to both of you simply because they're interested. You too listen to multiple people for advice, don't you? Talents aren't mutually exclusive. See, you don't need to be bad, you just need to be well informed. You've already witnessed synchronicities, you've already manifested something, haven't you? If you're here, you probably have some awareness of how past experiences, both positive and negative, have influenced you and shaped the person you are in this very moment. You already have the key. You see the correlation between your mind and your reality, cause and effect. The universe is already responding to you. It always did, and always shall, even if you relinquished your power. The way you would treat others at least partially reveals how you treat yourself, and how you treat yourself is how the universe will treat you. Manifesting is like your room. You start off as a child at your parents' house, and as you grow older, you bring into your room new toys. You abandon some, you change the layout of your room, you add new shelves, you have fun with the disposition of books, you add a carpet of a different color. Then you move out and bring some of your belongings with you, and you keep adding objects that reflect your new passions. Throughout the years, you took choices and decisions according to certain standards, desires and necessities, likes and dislikes, and solidified them in a certain layout of your rooms. Then at some point in our lives, we become aware of that. We become aware of the fact that we are the ones arranging our rooms, that we make the rules for ourselves. Which means that if we dive deeper into our minds, the metaphorical room, hopefully we can rearrange its layout to find a way to manifest without ruining the knowing that you don't need to be bad, but well informed. It appears to me that when I hear the word moral or good used online, there is often something off. The context in which the word is used is strange and different from how I would use it, and sometimes it is simply wrong. It seems to me that the problem is indeed not in being moral or good itself, but how people online seem to have conceptualized morality. For what I can observe, the definition of a good person seems to have been reduced to unconditionally always say yes, essentially by some, and therefore stripped of all nuance. Always say yes, and if you say no, you're bad, which leaves us with only two possibilities in life, to be either a doormat or a psychopath. Well, if we reduce morality to this, it is no wonder that nothing will ever go right. There is no nuance here. It is so simplified that it's too far from reality. People are inherently complex and nuanced. Trying to be something so banal and simple can obviously only make you suffer. Also, did you hear that? Did you notice that that is all you? These two are rules, definitions, spectrums, and limitations that you can create. Good is this, bad is that. This is this, that is that. But if you are the one who created or accepted those definitions, what if you don't have to be a monster to say no? Why not just decline civilly? By erasing nuance, you limit your definition of good and of yourself to something that is simply not human or real. We are confusing the pain of the impossible with the failure or the hindrance or what caused it. Agreeing and disagreeing, giving and receiving are the fundamental aspects of being alive and of the universal flow. Imagine to be really happy to see a loved one and wanting to give them a gift. And when you stretch your arm to hand it over, they reject you saying, "I can't accept this, I don't deserve it, you shouldn't have bought it." But I bought it for you. This is a misunderstanding of many people that are too generous. People that want to give a lot are often found by people that have no shame in taking too much. This is because the generous are spiritually rejected by people that already have enough. People that have average empathy, self-worth, and that can set boundaries have enough energies and can provide for themselves. They reject that excessive generosity because they don't need them much to begin with, and they wouldn't like having someone sacrifice themselves for them, much like you wouldn't want your precious present to be refused. That discrepancy in energy levels creates distance, confusion, and embarrassment. So the people with enough energy push you away, and then you become an easy prey for those that want to get that generosity. But here's what's important. If you're generous, the best thing you can do is to give yourself. Generous, sensitive people have a lot of energy and need to realize that people that care about you don't need a kidney every time they get a scratch. People that would care about you want equality, and people that only want to take advantage of you are not good to begin with. As for how to say no and set boundaries, we can remember what we said before. You are a nuanced, aware person, and know that being a monster isn't the only way, and in fact, you don't need to be someone else. Know thyself. If you struggle with saying no, maybe it's because you don't like being too abrasive or direct, because it's not natural and you wouldn't feel like you anymore. If so, so be it. In this case, you can try to express your mind in a way that is clear in its meaning, in its message, but maybe more articulated, more polite, or even formal. You can try to say it in a way that feels natural enough for you. You don't need to be confident. Confidence is just a word. It doesn't have a fixed appearance. You're not as outgoing as you think you should be, then maybe you can be a calm, quiet conviction. If that boisterous confidence feels arrogant to you, so unlike you it is, then be humble. You can draw inspiration from emotions and identities in which you feel elevated, free, capable, and that feel natural enough. If saying no is really that new to you, or you worry extensively, you can also pay attention to what happens when you speak your mind. Did you survive? Did they survive? Did the world end? Was it that difficult? Could you not deal with it? Ask yourself these questions and notice your reactions. The more you notice how your honesty isn't lethal to you or to the other person, the more familiar with it you become, the more confidence you acquire, and the more space you regain for yourself too, which is vital for the management of your energy. The more you do it, the more normal it will become for you, the more you'll manage to say no when you mean it, and the more secure you'll become in your ability to say it. Knowing thyself, giving yourself time, space, attention, and grace will also make you stop resonating with people with whom you're not equal in the relationship. Remember, people that would care about you would want to be equal with you and wouldn't question your right to be respected. You can give a lot, so you too deserve some grace. The issue is not being generous. The issue is that you're not structuring your life or raising yourself to make it sustainable. Even if you don't identify as highly sensitive, it is good for everyone to learn to practice boundaries for ourselves. No one's happiness should depend on just one person, and if you are aware that you indirectly show them something they secretly want, that is their opportunity to realize it and stop projecting by introspecting. This is their journey, and they too have to figure it out just like you, me, and everyone else. In the end, the problem isn't having good intentions, but the lack of boundaries with people that may or may not be bad and that aren't treating you right. If this keeps happening, it's probably because you still haven't internalized and normalized those boundaries. Upon doing so, they would be emitted and perceived through your presence alone in the room. How you treat others at least partially shows how you treat yourself, and how you treat yourself is how the universe or God will treat you. You meet people that are abusive because you're abusive with yourself, and will probably continue to meet them if you resist the lesson. You who are genuinely generous have so much energy if you can do so much for others. If you have so much energy, what could you possibly do with the excess of energy you have left? Well, who might need some time for his or herself to rest and recharge with the things they like? Remember, how you treat others shows how you treat yourself, and how you treat yourself is how the universe or God will treat you. Whether you give to yourself or are given by others, if you reject the idea of receiving, you reject the help that you desire. And yet you don't. You don't allow yourself to be helped, to receive or to ask, because you think you are stealing. You think it's selfish. This is the next block we need to break down. You fear that you would have too much compared to others. And this is the crux. We think that good should exist and be rewarded, but then refuse others, the universe's or God's thanks. This is the contradiction and subtle self-loathing that we have created around the definition of being good. The solution is simple. The truth is that there is nothing to steal or to be stolen from. Synchronicities and answered prayers happen for you, because of you, and are delivered to you. Everyone can ask and be given. The earth is abundant. It is as said before about envy. There is enough space for more than just one talent, because people have multiple interests. On planet Earth, there are enough resources because people are constantly creating them and generally like to give them. Some people dislike the solitary just because they feel like they can't receive them. They assume there can be no exchange, no back and forth. The truth is that people mostly like to give and want to receive others' presents. The earth is abundant, so there is nothing to steal or to be stolen from. For in fact, your synchronicities, your prayers, your blessings, your desires occur, are answered and delivered in response to your personal development, emotional state, and consciousness. You couldn't steal them from others, and they couldn't steal them from you even if they wanted, because they are just occurrences related to your development, shifts and elevation of consciousness that the world around you mirrors as a consequence. Help comes just because you ask for it. If you admit you need help, by surrendering your ego's desire for control, and if you trust that help will come to you as though it's already there, it will. In the animal kingdom, animals have no shame in letting other creatures help them. Even predators at times might want to be of service to prey and vice versa. There is nothing to steal or to be stolen from. Those who don't want you to know that will make you feel ashamed of asking for help, of being selfish, as though you would be committing a sin just by requesting the next breath, when in nature, in reality, in truth, it is all the other way round. The funny thing is that even keeping people away from this knowledge would change nothing for people that want power so much. People awakening wouldn't take anything away from them because 2 or more talents can exist at the same time, and so can 2 or more interests. There is nothing to steal or to be stolen from. Just like you don't need to be bad, you just need to be well informed.